Continuing on with our TBI modifications here, and here's the JEGS TBI airflow enhancer that we bought. It's number 50080. They had it on sale when we bought it. I can't say whether it's still on sale, but I'll go through and show the difference between this and the injection when I'm done. But you can see next to the stock one that I showed before, that's just straight up and down. The instructions say to just put it on, but I don't like that idea. I think flow-wise, the air is going to come in, have to go through the small hole, then kind of work its way out and come back in again. So I think what my plan is here is I'm going to give it a cut right around that edge there. So I'm going to cut that out, so then the air will flow into the bowl and then into the injection like it's supposed to. I think this is going to work way better. And then with our exhaust mods that we're doing, along with the porting I did, the spring and the spacer, I'll show you the difference between the stock and how ours turned out. But that's my plan right now. I'll check back after I cut that section out. All right, you can see what I did. Kind of ballparked the line through there. I'll try and get as straight as I can. Then I drilled a hole, starter hole. We're gonna go for the auto body saw, see if it can handle it. Hopefully it can. I got plenty of extra blades. So I'll check back in after, make the cuts here. I'm gonna try and get it just inside of this line so it's nice and smooth and has a nice smooth drop off there. And this has like a ridge on it too. So this thing is like just crazy for bad flow the way they come stock. So I'm expecting a lot of improvements here. All right, we're pretty well centered up here. All right, we're making a dual Horn air cleaner. So to do that, basically I got a second air cleaner. I drilled out the 4 spot welds, right there, and then you have to flip it over because it's going the opposite direction of the stock one. So when you flip it over, you got the whole heat riser thing in there. And so I made a patch panel for that, TIG welded it in. The problem is this stuff is super thin. If you do this, try and sand the inside because the paint smoke is gnarly. So the problem is this stuff is super thin. I think it's like, that's 20 gauge, that's 22 gauge. I'm basically almost fitting 24 gauge on here. So it was like Warp City. So the 16-inch TIG rod is probably way too thick. So at 24 gauge, you're down to like 23 amps. I think I tried welding this around 25 or 30 amps because I had to get the TIG rod to melt. So what I've done now is I made this tool, and I was able to go in like this and try and get it to bend up on the warps. And then I reworked this with a set of sheet metal vice grips like that and got that back into shape. So what I'm doing now is I grinded down the welds. I'm going to see if I can take the TIG and go around the outside and feather them in on the outside. Then I'll just be able to sand them down on the inside. And then hopefully with the heat, I've got a bolt in there propping it up. Hopefully it starts to level out with the heat a little bit. I might try the air hose trick and see if I can get it to shrink a little. But we'll work through it. I'll show it after I go through and TIG weld it and see if I can kind of feather the edges down here. Now that I've kind of grinded them down, they should melt a little bit easier. I think I'm going to go for about 25 amps, 29 amps, somewhere in there to start out with. We'll see how it goes, and at the end of the video we'll do the finished product. All right, you can see came in, warped the crap out of it all over again, but I feathered out a lot of the welds. So I think what I can do now is hammer and dolly it, get it semi-flat, run a grinder over it, and I think I can smooth out most of it. It's not gonna be the best finish ever, but I think I can work with it from here. I feathered all the inside and the outside of the welds down, so I have a lot less to sand. So I might be able to just take a little tiny disc like that and then just kind of go over it and hit it in just the right spots after I hammer and dolly it and get it a little flatter. It's better now because I got high spots instead of low spots. I had a lot of low spots the first time. So I'm hoping that now with the high spots, I can just put the dolly in there, hammer on it, get it much flatter, and then work it from there. And if I have to take my little tool and kind of raise up any low spots, I might be able to do that too. So that's where we're at. All right, so when we smoothed out the welds, we warped the crap out of this baby again. So this is going to be easy. I think what I'm going to do is just lay a plate in here like that, and then just do it like I did it last time with the sheet metal clamp like that, and that'll get that guy. But I want to get the rest of these warps out. So I don't know if you can see, there you go. So here's the plan I'm coming up with now. We're going to make a new tool. So I've got about 1.5 inches there. So my thought is, if I take this wonderful little tool right here, I'm going to cut it. All right, here's the finished product. You can see what the difference is here, how much we cut out of it next to what it came with. Fill and do what we want. If you do it yourself, I recommend making the bolt a little bit shorter that I peened over. But MIG, let's see how it's going to work with the horn here, because that's what we built this baby for. So this thing that I warped the crap out of, we wanted to be able to come in and go like this. And it looks like it's going to get me everywhere I want to start bending this thing flat. So that's what I was going for with all this, to kind of body work this baby out. I had made the other tool, but this is going to work out just fine. It gets me in, gets me everywhere I need to be, and then I can smooth it down and flatten it out. It's not going to be perfect, just like the tool, but we're going to have dual air cleaners when this is all done. So that's what got us started. Got myself a new tool. We took the little belt sander deal, and we went over and tried to get all the high spots off of our air cleaner here. It's looking a lot better. So now we're going to get our new tool that we made and take and use it and work it over our new tool. If you didn't see my video on that, that was a little side trip. But we're going to take the tool now and go through and use it to try and flatten it, because I already ground down some of the welds on the inside. So now I'm going to try and flatten this off, and then we'll finally get this round again, and then we'll figure out where we're going on the air cleaner, and then we'll cut the hole for that and get it all done. But that's what we're going to do next. Is I don't think you want to watch me just sit here and go like this and pinch and pinch and pinch and keep going around working it, but that's what we're going to do now. All right, here's how we ended up. Got it pretty good, not perfect, not by a long shot, but this isn't a show car either. We just want it to work, but got it pretty good. So there's a lot of working it down the seams and everything all around, And then at the end, I took and laid this guy on here and just kind of worked it with the clamp down that. And you can see it's not perfect, but it's way better than how I screwed it up. Now, one of the things I should have done differently when I welded this was I should have probably used MIG wire because it's thinner, and I could have probably done a 23 MIG wire and not heated it up as much because this stuff is super thin. But I'm pretty happy with where we've come from here. The tool worked out really good. I've got a little template made up for the air cleaner. So we're gonna figure out where it goes on the air cleaner. Then we're gonna cut this template out and trace it onto the air cleaner and cut that hole. And then we're gonna weld that baby on. That's where we're going with this. If you got a better way I should have done it, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'm open to suggestion for next time. If there is a next time, I don't know how many dual Snorkel air cleaners I'm gonna make in my life. But there you go. I figure out where our snorkel is going to come out. We've got our little hole right there that we're going to try and come around. So we got cold air and then cold air over there. So we're just looking at this, trying to measure up where our snorkel is going to go so we can set that up, and then we'll go through our new air cleaner top. This is the stock one. You can see how low that is. We got one off a square body that uses a Rochester Quadrajet that has a much taller one, so we'll be able to put a much taller air filter in. I'll go over the numbers and stuff on that, but this is what we're figuring out right now is where I think that we're going to be over. I figured it out before, but I'm going to really make sure we get it right. It's probably going to be right over there, I think, where the horn's going to come out. All right, we're pretty well centered up here. I think we come in, kind of ballpark it. I think I'm going to try and get it pretty close. Like, problem is this alternator, but I think if we come in about there, then we're about where we want to be, is the thought. So we're going to just hit it, and then we're just going to clean up those sections, if we can see them. But, so I think we're right about there, and that keeps us off of the alternator. So let's scratch it again. I think we're right there. Unfortunately, it's hard to see. So maybe we clean this off a little bit, go from there. All right, we washed it off with a little alcohol. We're gonna try this again. Got myself the yellow pen. We will see if we can maybe see yellow on black. It's an experiment. But what I'm hoping to do here is get these two guys kind of squared up like that, and then about there, I'm thinking. And we'll see how the Billy Bob likes. The horseshoe likes the yellow marker on the black. Looks like it worked. So we're going to sand that area. See the yellow marker. So blue horseshoe like the yellow marker. So I think we're fairly good. I think that's going to get us about where we want to be straightness wise. Yep, I think that's about there. I think that's pretty good. That's what I'm going to go for. That's the plan. Up next, we'll pull it out and we'll go from there. All right, we cleaned up that section with what I like to affectionately call the garbage wheel. It's an abrasive wheel, throws a lot of garbage. Wear glasses if you don't want something in your eye. But got the paint off, so now we're gonna mark it. We made up our little template right there that we're gonna use. Cut that out, set it up on there, and then we're gonna cut our section out of that, and we're gonna be off to the races and ready to weld that baby on. All right, check out that action. Nice little template. So we got to figure out exactly where the horn's going to go, and then we'll measure out, figure out where the template's going to go. All right, you can see we still have a little lean in there, but for the most part, not too shabby. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to make it work. So got to hold this up on there like so, and then we're going to figure it out. So we're going to get up on the welding table, get some measurements, and then we're going to put our little template up there, trace it, and then cut inside the template. That's the plan. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. If you look, if we set this guy on, we're pretty darn straight. So I think we're going to mark it and try and set it up. Then we're going to take our template and cut our hole. So feeling pretty good about that though. Not feeling good about the little fit right down there, but we'll deal with that. All right, we got it all traced out. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I'm probably just a hair off between that side and that side, but I think I'm close enough that I can live with it because it's never going to be perfect. I'm just going to get it as good as I possibly can. So we got a nice big opening and we got the dual snorkel. But that's the trace. I think we're going to try and cut it like probably along the trace, maybe slightly inside of it. And because you can see we've got a nice overlap all the way around, so we should have coverage. We're probably going to do tack welds, boom, 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 and then I'll probably come in and go tack, 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 tack with the TIG. I think we're going to try MIG wire this time. But that's where we're at right now. We got it traced. Next, we're going to try and probably cut it with the auto body saw after we drill a hole. All right, here's the plan. Got the roto cut. We're going to drill 2 1/8-inch holes. And that's going to give us a nice starting point to come in with the auto body saw and work it around. But that'll give us angles to go that way, to go this way, to come in here, whatever we need to do, however many different cuts we have to be able to do to follow these lines. So that's my plan. All right, what we did was we held this baby up, kind of ballparked it. We went on the inside. That's pretty good right there. And hit it with the hammer, hit it with the hammer. And then we came in with the old center punch and got those good. So we're going to drill some 1/8-inch holes. All right, got our 1/8-inch holes drilled. You can see right there. It's going to hit right where we wanted it to. Feeling pretty good about that. Right there. I think we're good. I think that's going to work. That's the plan. All right, cut those babies out. Not perfect, but good enough. Gives us our line that we're looking for. And next up, we're going auto body saw. So we're just gonna use that, come in, and just run it around. We'll see how it turns out. But that's where we're at. Here's what I came up with for holding it down. Got the board, which might take some of the shock out of it as I'm cutting it. Got the clamp down on the welding table. That's the plan. All right, not my best, but not my worst. So now we're gonna come in with the drum sander, kind of go around, clean it up, and that's gonna be it. And then we're gonna weld that baby in. That's where we're at. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Got the old ruler out. Kind of see if I can do this with one hand here. Trying. think right there. There we go. Looking pretty good, I'm thinking. And then there's our hole right there. We're gonna have to take that drum sander and run it through there again quick. But I'm just trying to figure out how to clamp this up right now so we come in and lay some TIG spots. This fine stuff is around 29. So I think we're gonna go around 25 amps and we're gonna try the thin 23 MIG wire and go with that. That's the plan. All right, this is how we got it clamped up. I think we're gonna hit that weld first. Then we're gonna probably move this clamp over here, hit this guy, and then we'll probably come in and hit that guy over here somehow, and then we'll do this one last. That's my plan right now. We're gonna tack weld it, then we're gonna come in, hit these seams here with little tacks, probably one on top, probably like 3 on the bottom. Try and fill in some of the gaps. That's where we're at, baby. All right, let's see what happens when people stop being nice and start TIG welding with MIG wire. Got it set at 28 amps. So let's see how it likes it. See, we got it grounded on the vice grips. Because the deal is painted, so we can't do our normal, but see what happens. See if we can find a good spot in here. Thinking something that. Maybe. Come in with this. There. What happened here? I don't know if that tapped it or not. I'm in love with it. And see if we can come around and try this a little differently. May have to lose the camera. All right, we're midway through. Ended up doing the Bennett's Customs trick, and I've seen other people do this. I took and spun the wire in the drill. All right, if you're gonna try and do this with the MIG wire, my little recommendation is put a little L on it, going into the drill bit, and then you just come out like this, get it all straight. I'm pulling it on the other end, and you just start running it like that. And gotta kind of eyeball it. And you can kind of see. Probably overshot it a little bit. Yep, a little bit. But I mean, overall, there's what we got. Got ourselves a little MIG wire, TIG wire going. That's been working pretty good tonight. So that's what we got. Illustrator, I overshot this one. I'm using that as the TIG wire. It's a little hard, but I'm getting it to tack in and stuff. We're getting close. All right, we flipped it over. We're gonna try and clean this up, get this welded in here. Then I'm probably gonna try and go over it, and I may even try and lay a bead down there, but I gotta be real careful because I don't want to warp this thing like I did before. but we're getting close. It's pretty solid now, so it's probably almost better than where, once I get that one in, I think it's almost better welded than the factory with the spot welds. It's just these gaps that are bugging me that I want to get rid of there. So it's moving along. It's kind of a nightmare to weld, but I got plenty of penetration. We're just going to come back in and sand out all the little boogies and stuff. But you can see got plenty of penetration. So I think we're good that way. I'm just going to come in with the grinder and dress all this stuff up. Dress up the outside so it looks a little bit better. And we're going to hit it and paint it. And I'm not going to worry about, there's a couple of little gaps, but nothing like major. There's a little bit on top. I closed in the bottom with those spot welds. And this thing hates the heat. I did 28 amps, and then we did I think this is 27 or 24 wire that we spun. So this stuff does not like the heat. That's where we're at. I had painted this thing over with this because I had some light rust spots on this guy. This stuff turned this guy to complete rust. So I had to wire wheel it. And then luckily, so don't ever use this garbage. Loctite should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, it rusted the whole thing over. I mean, it was just completely rusted. I painted it, let it dry for 2 days, and with this garbage, and then it was just completely covered. So I wire wheeled it, cleaned it all up. You can see where I kind of went over the welds on the sides there and stuff. So luckily I had this nice latex stuff that a friend of mine had given me a long time ago. Shook it up, put it on with a brush, cleaned it up really good. So now we're going to go over it and prime it. I got a high build primer for it, and then I'm hoping with the primer we're not going to be able to see where I filled in all this here. So we're moving along. All right, we're working on our heat riser for our header. So I'm probably going to take this piece, I think. We're going to cut it like that and pinch it down so it'll fit around the header. The header pipe is 1.7 inches, and then we're going to come and tee into it, and we're going to make a piece that's 1.5 across here. I think we're going to use this 3-inch because that's all we got. So I'm probably going to cut a section out and then just bring it in. That's the plan. All right, we did a little math. So this comes out, I mic'd it, it's 3.15 basically on the average. It's kind of a little out of round, but for the most part, 3.15. So circumference is the distance all the way around. So the formula for circumference is circumference equals 2 times pi. Pi is 3.14159.265 times the radius. Radius is half of the diameter. So half of 3.15 would be something like 1.57, something like that. So what we came up with is the circumference for this guy is 9.89. Circumference for 1.511 is 4.74. So I divided 4.743805 divided by 9.89602, 0.47936. So basically we need to do a little more, cut a little bit more than this thing in half and then re-arch it. So that's what we're going to try and do. See if we can do it. Got these killer stencils here, and they're different diameters. It's a 3-inch hole, so this is going to work out perfect for us. And it's got lines so you can mark half like that. So what we're going to do, I think, is we're going to go slightly this way, so it'll be slightly bigger, and then we'll make the cut on. So we'll put the line there, and then we'll cut on the line, and that'll probably get us a hair under. We'll probably overlap the line a little bit with the marking pen, but for the most part, we're going to get it about like that. So we're going to put 2 marks in it, then we're going to get our little square out and put 2 straight lines. Then we're going to cut those lines. So we're going to go like this. We're going to put this guy on. We're going to try and center him up as best we can. Again, this thing is not perfectly round, so we're going to look for as close to a good reveal as we can. And then we can just come in, like we said, find that line, go mark, and then we got our half. Then we'll take a square, run a good line, and then we'll cut it with the death wheel. That's the plan. All right, we got it. We ended up using the marks on either side. You can see 1, 2. So now we're going to take this guy and kind of go like that and lay our good mark down. So again, I think I'm just going to go dead center, and then we're going to give up the width of the death wheel. So I think that's our plan. So we'll give ourselves a little room, get this guy flat on here. Wish I had one more hand here, but it's always the fun part, trying to film this stuff. Let's see. I know there's an easier way than this. Thinking like a little more right there. And we're just gonna bam. And there's the other one. Get this guy again. Grab it here. Bounce like. This is always fun stuff. This is what it's all about right here. Out there. There we go. How we do? Pretty good, I'm thinking. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. See how it turns out. We've got plenty of material. If we screwed up, it can come out a little smaller. Just can't be too big because we got to fit that little flexible hose onto the header. So that's the plan. We're going to cut it with the death wheel, see where we come out. Rock and roll. Oh, again, these guys are awesome. I got them off of Amazon. I saw them on somebody's YouTube channel. They are in 30 seconds. So you got the marks in 30 seconds here. And then you also have these guys. So what I do with it is I'll stick a scribe in there, and I can run it along stuff with the scribe there, and it'll leave a line wherever I want on something, and it's perfectly straight. It's kind of hard to run it down, but they're pretty cheap on Amazon. I'll try and put a link up for it because I really love these things. I actually bought a second one because this guy was getting all scratched up and stuff, but work out awesome for scribing stuff. All right, I'm gonna be perfectly honest here. I don't have a clue what I'm doing, but I've got an idea. So let's see. I know that I need to curve it here and here. So I got this cool little sheet metal tool. So I'm thinking, can I take this guy and go and give it a little, obviously this is good old-fashioned stainless. It's not going to like to bend like this, but I'm going to give it, I'm going to try and keep this guy in here straight too, because crooked is no bueno. So thinking that's relatively straight. I felt something. Ooh, yes. So then I think I messed up. I think what I should be doing, get it here first if I can. Again, get it somewhat straight in there. Give it a little, like, come on, baby. You know what you want. Let's see. Here we go. Think. Nope, about there. So give this guy a little curvature to the earth, maybe a little bit of this action, like, ooh, this tool is not in love with what I'm doing to it right now. I'll tell you, it's not real happy about it, but we're gonna do it anyway. So hopefully, yeah, I got a little bit. So we're gonna try it like this again. Give it a little bit of action like this and see if we can curve the end like we did on the other side. So we'll come in, give it a little bit of that, like so. I think we got our ends curved, you can see a little bit. So we got this guy. So I'm thinking can hopefully creep. What I should be doing here is if I watched any of the sheet metal stuff on TV, what they generally do is lines. So that's probably what I should be doing. Maybe I'll go get my square and lay it out and lay some lines down it and then try and hit the lines with this tool. That's what I'm going to do. If I've learned anything from watching Shannon Campbell and some other people, you lay lines and you bend along the lines. So that's what we're going to do. That's our plan. All right, we got our nice little baby square here. Got our Dollar Tree pen, and we're gonna go for it here. So let's see if I can get this where you can kind of see it. So kind of whoa. So we put our bends in around there. I'm just gonna lay some lines down and run with it here the best I can. Let's see, get our thing on our pen going and see what we can do. At least we'll have some lines to go off of, and we're not just completely freestyling here like I was going to do. Let's see. Trying to get them pretty even. Not gonna waste my time getting it perfect, but figure if I can figure out. Oh, it's too close. Then it gives us something to work off of here. Some of these don't look quite as straight as I would like, but what are you gonna do? So here we go. There. Feel like this is gonna be a get it close, weld it together, and mess with it, and hopefully we can get it round enough. So all it's got to do is fit in that little hose thing that you buy for the heat riser for the air cleaner. So that's what we're working towards here. This is the plan that everybody's talking about. Everybody is talking about it. Just about there. Sorry, you're just sitting here watching me draw lines. Maybe it's cathartic. Not quite sure. But looks like the plan. Got that was it. It wasn't. Let's see. There we go. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Now we're going to try and do some bends here. All right, let's see what we can do with some bends here. If we got anything going on. This guy looks like he got something. We're going to go right there. Probably go center. Imagine it's a little stronger. Get a nice shine off the stainless. Pretty straight. Give it a little bendy like that. And let's see if we go to our next one. I'm thinking we're going to just hit a point where we're not going to be able to fit this thing in here. This is where I probably should have started up higher first. I might be able to. Nope. All right, so maybe on this one, we'll go up a little higher and try and work our way out. Again, it's a trial and error thing here that we're doing. I think more error than trial, but what are you going to do? Down one. Try it again. Pretty straight. About there. So we do this. It's getting something. Not quite sure if it's good or not, but I feel like we're doing something here. This seemed like an easier project before I hadn't started it yet. All right, we're getting our curve on here. Let's see if we can give this guy a little more here. About there. Like that. Okay. Sorry, it's going on and off camera here. So, let's see what happens when we stop being nice. And put the glove on for this. I can just see myself gashing my hands open. Not sure where I put my gloves at. All right, I found the gloves. So let's see what happens if we just try and manhandle this thing. Other thing I was thinking about trying to do maybe is a tie wrap, or possibly a hose clamp. And I'm kind of thinking a hose clamp's not the worst idea. But what I'm going to do first is try and mess it up by doing this. And then maybe we'll come in with the hose clamp. But that seems like it's kind of working, actually. We're not great, but we're not terrible either. So maybe we're getting close to the old hose clamp, I'm thinking. That's what the thought is. So maybe we go for the hose clamp. I think that's what we're going to do. That's our plan. All right, we got our Harbor Freight. It's a 1 1/4 to 2 inch. I think you can kind of see that. There we go. Hose clamp, and we have our Harbor Freight 5/16 nut driver. So, wow, it's actually gonna fit on there. It's crazy. It's just madness. But we'll take it. So we'll give it a little flex job like that. Kind of center her up. And let's go for it. Let's see what happens when people stop being nice. Okay, I'm liking this so far. I knew that a tie wrap or a hose clamp or something may just do what I want it to do. And so far, it seems to be doing it. Who knew? I think we're going to have to put the glove on and maybe flex it, or we go with a, oh, I'm trying to decide here. Thinking if I can get it close, maybe I weld it and then I start playing with it. You know, when you watch this video, let me know in the comments what I should have done different, because I'm sure there's something that should have been done differently. But it's working slowly but surely. It's not too bad out around. I mean, obviously we should have just bought a 1.5 inch piece of stainless, but we are cheap people and we like to make stuff. So that's what we're doing here. So I'm thinking about a hammer right now, and maybe the rubber mallet and giving it a little love tap, or I think I'm going to reposition the hose clamp first. So if you want to keep watching, maybe I'll do that. Seems like it really started to bring us into shape here. See if it's going to hold that or not. Hose clamp is not in love with this, what we're doing to it here, as you can hear. But let's see, and that's the car we're doing this for right now, driving up. It's crazy. All right, let's see what happens. If we do it this way, if it'll maybe slide a little better. Seems to be doing something. It's working. Okay. I'm thinking we maybe do the old mallet job. So that's, stay tuned. I think we're going to give it the old mallet tap. So I might reposition this guy one more time so I can hit it with the mallet. That's my plan. Alright, here's where we're at right now. I think I'm going to go for the old love tap with my favorite rubber mallet. If you don't have a rubber mallet and all you're buying is dead blows, rubber mallets are the bomb. They're great for exhaust stuff like this, and they're cheap. And if it gets torn up, it gets torn up. Dead blow, they get chewed up. And what I discovered recently is if you don't want to damage something and you want to hit it really hard, hold the rubber mallet up and then hit it with the biggest hammer you got, and then the rubber mallet will protect what you're doing. My little tip from me to you. So let's give this a little try here. See what's going to happen. Ooh. Ooh la la, that's looking much better. I can almost live with that. I'm really thinking about tightening it up and welding it. And I can weld it right this way. Pretty nice. I think that's what's going to happen. Let's see what happens when we tighten it. See how it all goes together. What happens? Feeling pretty good right now. Haven't measured it. Maybe one more little love tap. Maybe we go a little looser. Maybe we come in right here. Give it a little bit of right like that. Maybe one more. Ooh, not too bad. Not the best we've ever seen, but something we can definitely work with here. So let's see what we're looking at for a measurement. See how the plan's coming together. If this baby's going to work, or if it's way too small, or what. We were going for 1.5. We're a hair over 1.5 that way. hair over 1/2 that way. So we're over 1.5. Might work though. I feel like, well, whole thing's over 1.5. Maybe we got to clearance it a little bit here first, a little bit more, or we still need to tighten it a little. So let's see. That's a little tighter. Let's try it one more time. You can see there we're a little bit over. We're about at 1.5 plus a 16th. Pretty much. That's a hair over. Really close. I got a feeling this thing might work. I might roll the dice and we'll give it a little weld. And I got a feeling when I weld this, it's going to flatten down a little bit from the heat. And then we come in and hammer on it a little bit and try and make it a little bit rounder. But it doesn't need to be perfect because little hose things can go over it. And then we're going to trim. We're going to use this one because it's taller. We're going to probably cut it like there and there, and then we're going to make that guy, and then we're going to come in with some Harbor Freight stainless steel tie downs. So we're going to weld it on there. So the plan. So what I'm thinking is we're probably going to do this. Based on experience of welding this fine stuff, I'm thinking I'm going to go for about 39 amps. Try that. That's my plan. I put a little ink mark down it. I'm going to run the grinder down it and see if I can clearance this a little bit and get it to squeeze in a little bit more, take a little bit of circumference out of it. So I'm hoping that would be enough. This plan. All right, you can see we grinded our pen mark off. Might be a little slanted there. I might need to take that corner a little bit, but we'll see. All right, that's where we're at. We're hair over 1.5 inches. We're allowed around, so we're gonna have to play with that. I'm really thinking about just welding it, tack, lay a weld down it, and then come back in and mess with it a little bit. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm thinking 39 amps is what I'm gonna go for. All right, I think we're gonna tack it up. Should have gone over it with acetone. We didn't. Hopefully we don't pay that price. Here we go. Rock and roll. Rock and roll, baby. Oh. Sorry, my foot pedal's not hooked up. Let's go for it. See how bad I can mess this up. Best, not my worst. Now I'm going to see if I can fill that other guy back in. Probably can't, so I'll move my hand out of the way. Got her filled in. Now I'm wondering, can I give it a little love, touch up where I blew the hole in? I think I can. I think I have the technology. All All right, where do we end up? So, let's see. That's where we burned through. So we got that all fixed. Kind of gave a little grind out on the inside, took away some of that penetration. Went through and the marbling, or not or whatever it's called, the thing. So we're at 155, 152, 156, 158, 156, 157, 155, 157, 158, 159. So kind of all over the place, but we got to get the hose. We'll see how it works, and then we're going to cut that piece and probably weld it on, and all it's got to do is hold that hose in that goes up to the air cleaner. So hopefully we got it. Otherwise we can always put a cut down it and redo it again. It's getting cold, so I think we're going to call it for the night, but I'm getting pretty close. I cut this guy, and then what we're going to end up doing is probably holding this. Once we get the angle right, holding it like that, doing a pin mark on each side, coming in, grinding some out, so then we can get it to lay up flush there, weld it on. Then we're going to do the 2 stainless tie wraps onto the header, and that's going to be our guy, I think. We got to get the hose from O'Reilly or somebody and make sure this fits and we don't have to slot it and shrink it in a little bit, but hopefully we're about there on that. So is it beautiful? No, I think I'm going to drill a hole in the middle too, let a little heat off the header come into there. That way I think this thing will get hot enough, but a little hole there can't hurt. So we'll finish it up tomorrow. That's where we're at. All right, we got this baby all prepped. I wanted to hit it with the annular cutter, but I've been having problems with the curves. They dig in there, and then you're having problems on the outer. So what I did was I marked it with this nice flexible ruler I cut off of something. Did it in metric? Yes, I did. Found center, marked it, hit it with an 1/8 inch grinder bit to get the initial hole, drilled it as big as I had a cobalt bit, and then went for a step bit to get to there. Gave it a little bend job. It's not perfect, but it fits the header pretty darn nice. So we got our standard heat riser thing. This baby is just a hair too big, so you can see the 2 holes right there. I'm going to cut 2 lines. I'm going to cut down those 2 lines, and that's going to give us a nice sectional that we're going to pull out of it. Then we're going to do the hose clamp thing, re-weld it. So I'm going to get rid of some of the burn through that I filled in there and stuff, and then weld it back together after I hit that cut right there. So that's the plan. All right, that did it. So there you can see right there, we're in our up tube, we fit, and is it perfect? No. Does it look a little bit like an egg? Well, yes, but anybody that's ever pounded on stainless tubing before knows it goes one way and then it goes the other. So let's see if I can somehow do this, or I can show you the measurements here. Let's try this. Sorry for the wiggles. Let's see. 1519, 513, 150 or 49. And this thing sprung too when I cut that section out. 149. This thing is different everywhere you do it. 1519, 1483, 1497, 1509. So we were looking for 151 based off the other thing. Hopefully the air cleaner fits, but you can see the difference here of what we started with and what we cut it down to. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, my time's worth something, but didn't really cost us anything because we used scrap. And then here's our piece that we're going to put on to the header. You can see I rounded the edges. Always round your edges. Looks a lot nicer. So what we're going to do is we're going to cope this baby a little bit. I think I'm going to use the crappy side right there. Cope that, and then get it on there pretty straight. I'm going to have to hold this guy so he doesn't arc out while I'm welding it, but we're going to weld it on. We got a little heat hole in the middle that some heat can come up through. It'll be about like that. We got some nice stainless tie wraps that we got from Harbor, so we're going to weld that on. We're going to have a nice little custom piece that's going to go on the header and make us smog legal on our nice headers. So that's where we're at. See what it does when I'll show it when I cope it, and then we'll mock it all up to weld. I think what I'm going to do is turn it over backwards, clamp, cope it, have it like that, get this guy on here like that, coped, centered up. I'm going to clamp it right there to hold it on, and then I'm going to get a clamp in here to just kind of hold this like that. I don't know, maybe this might be hard to weld that way, so we may be going the other direction. I don't know, we'll figure it out. This is what I came up with. You can see I spaced it up because it's going to hit there, so I wanted to see about where I needed to cut to, so that gives me a rough idea. It's not going to be perfect, but what I'm going to do is then probably run a slot up the middle and then elongate it out and then just start working it, because as I have the middle worked out, then I'll be able to start slipping it on and start marking the sides and get it perfect. So that's my plan. I did it on both sides. I used the messed up side here to get rid of that little problem, and then we're going to do this side the same. So you kind of see, I think I went like that. Yeah, kind of marked it. So that's roughly where we're going to be. Roughly what we're going for. I think I might have been on this side. This thing might be a little lopsided from what I can tell. I think we're right about there. I clamped it down. So that's what we got. All right, we're working through the problem here. What I decided to do is do disc grinder. So I making a vertical cut first, like that. And I get up close to the line there. And then I'm gonna come in and diagonal. And then I figured out that this is, let's see if we can get this here, fairly close. Not perfect. Probably need one a hair smaller, but fairly close, as you can see. So I'm thinking I might just take this guy, come in after I get the angle on it, and just kind of hit it like that a little bit and start knocking it back. So that's the plan. All right, it's working pretty good. We're getting there. We're close. What I did was I started with a small one and then went to the big one. Now I'm going to switch out the big one, do it a little bit more, but we're getting fairly close here. Just need to get it a little bit more knocked down on the sides. I think we got it. We could weld it right now, but I think if we knock down the sides just a little bit more, we'll be good. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about this. You can see right there. I feel like I was born to raise hell here. Right there, pretty good. Not super focused. Trying to work on this for you. There you go. Pretty good. Not perfect. I have to fill it in a little bit with the TIG, but pretty good. Coped it out pretty good. Went through some sanding discs, and luckily I had the nice half round file. If you don't have a big, I got this from McMaster Car. Love this baby. It's great for exhaust work. But I feel like we're there. So next up, we're going to mock it up. I figured out how I'm going to do that. I'm going to put clamp here, or a end stop, and then a clamp so it can't spread while I'm welding it. And then we're going to clamp that on and push it down just a little bit. And then we're going to come in and go tack, 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 tack on about 4 corners. And then we're going to start welding. And then we're going to be off to the races. All right, we got it all mocked up. Feeling pretty good about it. I measured it. I'm within about 64ths from this side to the other side. Fairly straight, I'm thinking. I looked at it for a long time. Tried to fudge the error. It looks crooked from the camera, but I don't think it is. When you get down low and look off the welding table, it's not. So got this baby clamped, holding that. This one's holding that. So then this thing can't spread that way when I start welding it, because it probably will want to. So the thought is this way everything's clamped and stuff. I don't think I'm going to weld it tonight because it's kind of hot or cold out, and I'm afraid my helmet's going to steam up instantly, and then I'm not going to be able to see. So I think this is a tomorrow tack up and weld, but I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out. All right, we're all tacked in. Got one there, one there, one there, and then we got one there, one there, one there. Problem is, my little clamp job, I'm not getting a good angle with the torch. I need to be able to come in here and kind of work the torch and work the weld around. So I'm trying to figure out that. So we'll see. See how the welds come out. All right, we made our last pass in 2 parts here. Went from about there to there, and then I did that to that. Again, not the prettiest down here, but it was thin and kind of trying to float the material onto it without burning through, and then kind of smoothed it out. So you can see the overall here. Got that all the way to there. That's the ugliest. And then we're here. So pretty good, pretty happy. All right, that's what we ended up with right there. Not too bad, especially for starting out with that guy and trimming it down to that. I think that's not too bad. It's not the roundest, but it fits the up pipe. Drilled the hole out a little bit bigger, ran the sander down, got rid of all the stuff. Looking good. Better shape than the guy with the little mandolin here. There we go. All right, we got our stainless tie wrap clamped on, so we're going to try and lay a weld in right there. This is under 20 gauge, or it's around 20 gauge. I measured it with a 24, and it was less than that. So I'm going to try 20 amps and see if I can just kind of take and put a bead there and let it kind of work its way onto this just to hold it. If I get it to hold in place good, that'll be fine. Then we'll. All right, this is what I came up with. I cut a couple little strips to put on top of it. So I'm going to tack it in front and then the back. You can see over here where I did this one, it's pretty ugly. I'm going to have to clean it up. But at least it's, and you can see where it burned through right there. But I think it's still strong enough. So I'm going to clean all that off, but at least it's tacked down. That's all it's doing. It's tacking it down so it doesn't fall off of there when we tighten up these clamps. That's where we're at. I think the 2 little strips on top keep you from burning through it. It's so thin. All right, what we did was we got a little brush and we bought some primer. So we took the brush and we just kind of dabbed along where all the low spots were. So now we're going to come in and give it a little sand job and smooth it out. And I think that's going to get us good enough that we're going to be able to just lay another coat of prime over it. And then we're going to have our final paint job. All right, there we are. So we got it in there, coming off the header, going up into the heat riser. Got our tall air cleaner. What we did was the second spout came with the short one. So we bought this, I think this is an 8-foot piece at Lowe's for $10. And then it goes into the same place as the other side has, like the fender one, and then comes up and goes right there. So we just did the same thing there. And then I'll measure the air cleaner we put in here. This is a much taller, earlier model carbureted top we put with the stock bottom that we added that to. So now, yeah, you can see there, that comes out there. And then, I don't know if you can see down in there, this is where it comes out of the, fender right there and then goes down into the front, kind of what we did. So let me see if I can pull out the air cleaner and measure that. All right, there's the air cleaner filament, you can see. So it's, let's see, about 5.5 tall and 12 inches across. So 12 by 5.5, and then you can see down inside there with the salad bowl and everything. So 12 by 5.5. And I'll find you one and put a link up and yep, 12 by 5.5. And that should flow a lot. And that's the overall there. And you can see the sticker we put on there. Got that off of Amazon. I'll put the link in for that also. Like and subscribe.